Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're digging into something that, let's be honest, drives us all a little crazy: inconsistency. We're going to break down the core building blocks from Six Sigma's Unit 2, basically the tools that help you figure out why things go wrong so you can finally start making them right.
You know the feeling, right? One night the pizza shows up, it's hot, it's exactly what you ordered, it's perfect. The next week, it's cold, it's the wrong toppings, and it's late. That huge gap between amazing and awful, that's called variation, and it all boils down to one simple thing: the process. And that is exactly the kind of problem Six Sigma was built to solve. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to nail down what a process actually is. Then we'll learn a really simple but powerful way to map one out. After that, we'll get into defining what quality really means using actual numbers. Look at the hidden costs when things go wrong, and wrap it all up with the 5-step framework for fixing the whole thing. All right, first up, let's get on the same page about a word we're going to be using a lot. What in the world is a process?
Well, at its heart, a process is just a set of steps you take to make something, whether that's a product or a service. And, once you start looking for them, you see them absolutely everywhere. A law firm handling a case? That's a process. A hospital admitting a patient? Yep, that's a process too. And, of course, our pizzeria making dinner? That's one big process. They're like the hidden recipes that guide everything we do.
So, the main thing to remember is this: if you can spot a beginning, an end, and all the little steps in between, you are looking at a process. It's really that simple. Okay, so if a process is a journey from a starting point to an end result, how do we actually see where we're going? We need a map. And in Six Sigma, one of the best starter maps you can have is something called a SIPUC diagram. Now, SIPUC gives us that high-level, bird's-eye view of the whole operation. It helps us see all the most important pieces on just one page. And using our pizzeria example, we're going to build one right now, piece by piece. First up, we have S for supplier. These are the people, the companies, the organizations, whoever provides you with what you need to do the job. So for our pizzeria, it's not just the food delivery truck. You got to think bigger. It's the farm that grew the wheat for the flour and the one that grew the tomatoes for the sauce. And what do those suppliers give us? They provide the I for inputs. These are the actual things you're going to use: the flour, the water, the cheese, the sauce. It's all the raw materials that are about to be transformed. Next comes P for process, and this is the heart of our map. This is where the magic happens. It's the series of actions that turn all those inputs into something new. For our pizza, this is the fun part: mixing the dough, slathering on the sauce, adding the toppings, and baking it in that hot oven. All that work creates the O for output. This is it, the finished product, the grand result of all your effort. In our case, it is one hot, delicious, perfectly cheesy pizza, boxed up and ready to go. And finally, who gets that output? Well, that would be the C for customer. They are the whole reason we're doing this, and they are the ultimate judge of whether our process was a success. For the pizzeria, it's that hungry person waiting at home. And just like that, we did it. In 5 simple steps, we've mapped out the entire pizza operation, all the way from the farm to the front door. That is the real power of SIPUC. It's a simple, elegant way to see the whole big picture at a glance. So now that we can actually see our process, how do we know if it's any good? This brings us to a really important idea: quality. But quality can be kind of a fuzzy word, right? So Six Sigma gives us a way to define it with some real precision. It all starts by listening. Seriously, we call this the voice of the customer, or VOC for short. It's what the customer tells you they want, in their own words. It might be emotional, it might be a little vague, but it is the absolute most important place to start. But here's the catch: you can't really measure hot and fast, so we have to translate the voice of the customer into things we can measure. These are called critical to quality characteristics, or CTQs. So hot becomes a specific target. The pizza temperature must be over 160 degrees Fahrenheit when it arrives. And fast becomes a clear metric. Delivery time has to be under 30 minutes. See, now we have a concrete, measurable definition of success. So the huge takeaway here is this: in Six Sigma, quality isn't just a vibe or a feeling, it's a number. We take what the customer wishes for and we turn it into a target that we can aim for every single time. So what happens when we miss those targets, when the pizza is cold or late? Well, it's not just a bummer for the customer. There is a real, measurable cost to the business.
This is what's known as the cost of poor quality, or COPQ.
Now, this cost usually gets broken down into two main buckets. You've got internal failures. Those are the problems you catch before they ever get to the customer. And then you have external failures. Those are the much, much more painful ones that you don't catch, the mistakes that actually make it out the door. Think about it this way. An internal failure is when the chef burns a pizza and has to toss it in the trash. That costs money, right? Wasted dough, wasted cheese, wasted time. But an external failure, that's when that burnt pizza actually gets delivered. Now you're talking about giving refunds, dealing with a terrible online review, and worst of all, probably losing that customer for good. External costs are almost always way more damaging. So, just remember, every mistake, every defect, every little error has a price tag attached to it. And understanding that cost is usually what lights the fire to actually improve the process. Okay, we've defined our process, we know what quality looks like, and we totally get the cost of failure. So, the million-dollar question, how do we actually fix things? Well, for improving a process that already exists, Six Sigma gives us this powerful step-by-step roadmap. And that roadmap is called the DMAIC framework. It stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control. It's a super logical cycle. First, you clearly define the problem you're trying to solve. Then, you measure the process to see just how bad the problem is with real data. Next, you analyze all that data to find the true root cause. It's only then that you get to improve it with a smart solution. And finally, you control the new process to make sure the problem stays fixed for good. It's a disciplined, data-first approach to making things truly better. And there you have it, the essential building blocks for improving pretty much anything. We've learned that everything is a process. We've learned that you can map it out with SIPHOC, you can define what quality means with VOC and CTQs, and you have a roadmap to fix it with DMAIC. So the last question is really for you. From making your morning coffee to your biggest project at work, what hidden process in your world are you going to see a little differently now?